Child development can be defined as the process by which a child changes over time. It covers the whole period from conception to an individual becoming a full functioning adult. It's a journey from total dependence to full independence. Child development incorporates physical growth as well as intellectual, language, emotional, and social development. While these aspects are often considered separately, in reality, each influences all of the others. For example, as the brain develops physically, so intellectual abilities increase. This in turn allows a child to explore their social world more fully, develop their emotional responses to it, and the language needed to describe it. But in turn, this exploration directly impacts on further physical brain development. A number of factors affect the course and progression of child development within a given individual. These include the innate or the biological makeup of the child themselves and external influences such as family, society, economics, health, and culture. Thus, growth and development are directly related to the child's nutrition, affluence, parenting styles, education, and interaction with peers. Developmental disorder is a group of psychiatric conditions originating in childhood that involve serious impairment in different areas. Causes, environment, genetics, and stress in early childhood. Examples of development disorder are learning disabilities, communication disorder, autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, developmental coordination disorder. Learning disabilities. Learning disabilities are disorders that affect one's ability to understand or use spoken or written language, do mathematical calculations, coordinate movements, or direct attention. Not all learning problems fall into the category of learning disabilities. Many children are simply slower in developing certain skills. Here are the kinds of learning disabilities. First, dyslexia affects reading, spelling, and language processing. Example, a child confuses similar looking letters like B and D, struggles to read fluently, and has difficulty sounding out words. Second, dysgraphia impacts handwriting, spelling, and organizing thoughts on paper. Example, a student writes letters in an inconsistent size, has trouble spacing words, and finds it difficult to put ideas into writing. And third, dyscalculia affects understanding of numbers, calculations, and mathematical concepts. Example, a child struggles to memorize multiplication tables, confuses number sequences, and finds order. Communication disorders include problems related to speech, language, and auditory processing. Some causes communication disorders include hearing loss, neurological disorders, brain injury, mental retardation, drug abuse, physical impairments such as cleft lip or palate, emotional or psychiatric disorders, and developmental disorders. Frequently, however, the cause is unknown. Autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder or ASD is a lifelong development disability characterized by difficulties in social interaction, communication, restricted and repetitive interests and behaviors, and sensory sensitivities. Here are the problems of having ASD. Difficulty with socialization and communication, odd interest and behavior, and problem with attention and self-regulation. Here are the causes of having ASD. Genes, environmental triggers, other health conditions like muscular dystrophy, a group of inherited genetic conditions that gradually cause the muscle to weaken. Down syndrome, genetic condition that typically causes a learning disability and a range of physical features. Cerebral palsy, conditions that affect brain and nervous system, causing problems with movement and coordination. Infantile spasm, type of epilepsy that develops while a child is still very young, usually before they're 1 year old. Neurofibromatosis, a number of genetic conditions that cause tumors to grow along the nerve. The main types are neurofibromatosis 1 and neurofibromatosis type 2. The rare genetic conditions fragile are syndrome, tuberous, sclerosis, and Rett syndrome.
Okay, dumako naman tayo sa ADHD or Attention Deficient Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a behavioral conditions that make focusing on everyday requests and routine challenging. Ito yung isang kondisyon na pag-uugali na ginagawang mahirap ang pagtuon sa pang-araw-araw na kahiligan o gawain. People with ADHD typically have trouble getting organized, staying focused, making realistic plan, and thinking before acting. They may be figuratively noisy and unable to adapt to challenging situations. Karaniwang nahihirapan ang mga taong may ADHD na nagiging maayos, manatiling nakatuon, gumawa ng makatotohanang mga plano at mag-isip bago kilos. Maaaring malikot sila, maingay at hindi marunong umangkop ng pagbabagong sitwasyon. The last is children with ADHD can be deficiently inept and aggressive. Ito yung mga batang may ADHD ay maaaring maging mapanghamon, walang kakayahan sa lipunan o agresibo. Dumako naman tayo sa Developmental Coordination Disorder. Also known as developmental dysphagia is a chronic neurological disorder beginning as a childhood that can affect planning of movements and coordinations as a result of brain message not being accurately transferred to the body. Ito yung disorder na mula sa pagkabata ay maaaring makaapekto sa pagpaplano ng mga paggalaw at koordinasyon bilang resulta sa mga mensahe sa utak na hindi tumpak na ipapasa sa katawan. Dumako naman tayo sa mga sintomas. Have difficulty moderating is the amount of sensory information that their body is consistently sending them. Treatment from developmental disorder. Treatment approaches. Paglapit sa paggamot. Clinical therapies. Paglapit sa mga gamot, mga clinical na therapy, mga pantulong na therapy, mga biodemical na paggamot, suporta ng pamilya at mga pagkain na paghahatid ng serbisyo.